I've always been a super curious person and always wanted to know what works for everybody, whether it's, across any category. And I've always been an open book with my friends, for sure. I think there are certain friends you feel like it's safe to really talk about, the intricacies of certain things, and some less so. But I've always led from that place of like, that's super interesting, like what worked, what didn't work, whether it's about sex or anything. I've got your clothes here. They've been dry cleaned and pressed, and there's a car waiting for you outside that will take you anywhere you'd like to go.
You must be the famous Pepper Potts.
Indeed I am.
In 2008, Gwyneth Paltrow helped launch what would become the new Marvel Cinematic Universe, playing Pepper Potts in the summer blockbuster Iron Man.
Let's face it, this is not the worst thing you've caught me doing.
Are those bullet holes?
That September, the 36-year-old Oscar-winning actress also launched Goop as a weekly newsletter that soon grew into a multi-million-dollar wellness and lifestyle company.
When I started Goop in 2008, I was like, my calling is something else besides, making out with Matt Damon on screen or whatever.
12 years later, in 2020, Gwyneth released her brand's first television show, The Goop Lab, a 6-episode Netflix documentary series that explored various boundary-pushing wellness ideas.
As a company, we can go out in different groups and go on a much deeper dive into some of these topics that our readers are curious about.
Now, on October 21st, Gwyneth is launching her second Netflix show, Sex, Love, and Goop, another 6-episode docu-series, this time promising to provide a toolkit for finding more pleasure and connection in our romantic lives.
It's one thing to be emotionally vulnerable on camera, but to be sexually vulnerable, we've never really seen this before. I really think that sexual wellness is a really important part of overall wellness. And it's like, you can't be, juicing and exercising and if you're not really in a healthy place with how you relate to your sexuality. And if you really accept yourself for who you are, including especially your sexuality, it's like a very important pillar in overall wellness.
Sex, Love, and Goop follows 5 real-life couples as they work with sex experts to explore their bodies and learn methods to enhance their relationships.
My hope was that the show would provide a kind of template or a rubric for people to, say, hey, let's watch this together, or like, let's have this conversation like Gwyneth said we should have in the show, and just kind of normalize those harder conversations and understanding that it's very hard to do that. And it's interesting for me because I really do believe in absolute freedom and agency of sexuality and self-acceptance, but I'm also from a generation where I'm like, I don't know if I could actually do this myself on camera. So I'm like totally in awe of these couples and what they are able to do and how they are able to bring their most vulnerable, delicate selves and expose them in that way and try some crazy shit. And like, I have so much respect for them.
Another goal of the show is to take on sexual and societal taboos that have been more than 100 years in the making.
Absolutely. I think, it's perceived that if a woman likes sex, there's something wrong with her, right? Especially, as you say, if she's not in a committed relationship. And that's just not true. I think that repressing sexuality and repressing specifically female pleasure has been a mechanism for control for a long time, and that if our society makes us feel bad about who we really are, or that anything pleasurable is bad or wrong or sinful, like it has a really bad impact on us as women. And so I'm an advocate for women really, listening to themselves and becoming truly close and intimate with themselves to understand how that sort of thing impacts us. And it's cultural. It is. In Victorian times, it's very puritanical. It's been embedded in our culture for a long time, and I think it's really time that we start to undo those tropes. So I don't know. I think it's a really important subject and one that needs a lot more TV shows on.
In some ways, the growth of Goop has been a reflection of Gwyneth's own personal journey of discovery and healing.
I think that I also am really interested in my own healing, and I think that's what the impetus, the impetus comes from, like my own drive towards like, wow, could I feel better? Could I have a better relationship? Could I be a better parent? And so when we do projects like these series, I think that it's just like you get that lesson again, right? About the importance of choosing to have autonomy in your health and your wellness and how you think about your health and wellness. And then all of those different pillars that really make up a part of that holistic wellness, right? So I think sex is a fascinating barometer for how honest you're being with yourself in life, right? It's like everything comes up and out there. And there are definitely times in my life I look back and I think, God, I was so not aligned with myself, and therefore, I was in X relationship that really was not a positive manifestation for me. So whether it's sexuality, whether it's diet, whether it's breathing, whether it's meditation, whether it's, psychedelic healing, I just always hope that we are pushing the boundaries and we're at the forefront, kind of bringing these interesting topics to light and creating a space where people can ask questions and get information about them. I always feel the best and sexiest when I'm on vacation, right? And I'm not thinking about spreadsheets or anything like that. But again, I am in it, my particular situation is it's my second marriage. So I also have a little bit of the, the blessing of a honeymoon phase happening in my late 40s, which is great.
Gwyneth has been happily married to her second husband, producer Brad Falchuk, since 2018, and part of that happiness comes from understanding there's no such thing as perfection.
Absolutely. I think one of the most detrimental things that can come, in between a relationship is sort of the Instagram relationship. People see these relationships and they think, oh my God, they're so perfect and I don't have that, or some days I'm not attracted, or I don't like this or that. The truth is, I had a therapist, and I say this in the show, that told me an intimate relationship is a meditation in everything that's wrong with you. And I thought it was so fascinating because we start to look externally and say, they have something I don't have, or, I wish I had done something different. It's like, no, you are in this, whatever relationship you're in right now, even if it's doesn't feel good to you, it's there for a reason. It's there to teach you something. It's there to get you closer to yourself. And so it's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to have friction points. That's how you grow out of it. It really just becomes about how you approach those interactions and can you bring real authenticity to it and have those hard conversations with your partner, because then things really do start to open up. I have to say that I am really lucky that I married Brad. This guy, and it's something about us together. We've really been able to build on all the stuff that we've gone through in life and create something really amazing. But I'm not a good fighter. He's much better at it than I am, and I will retreat to a defensive place. I'll shut down, and he's amazing because he'll say you're shutting down. He'll just say what's happening and he won't let me out of it. This happened last night, actually. We had a really difficult and ultimately wonderful conversation. So I think it's just really about accountability, right? And showing up.
Gwyneth is also the proud mother of two beautiful children, 17-year-old Apple and 15-year-old Moses. While communication is certainly a big part of their relationship, it sounds like they won't be talking much about Mom's new show.
We do not talk about sex. No, the kids, teenagers, do not want to talk about sex with their mother ever. So I just try to be neutral, and if they need me for something, I'm there. And if they want to talk about something, I'm there. But I think with kids, it's really about how are you from the time they're very little? How are you making them feel that they're fully accepted and that who they actually are is wonderful, not who you want them to be or who you worry that they might become. And really trying to reinforce that all the time, like that just exactly as they are, they're amazing. And so if they start to get a sense that like their opinions are accepted and that their jokes are funny, and they get positive reinforcement and they're not being raised in an atmosphere of a lot of judgment and shame, I think that carries through to their sexuality when they're older, hopefully. It's like hopefully they'll accept themselves, however that may be. And so I think it's not exclusive only to the conversation around sexuality, right? It's about fully understanding who they are and loving themselves.
Meanwhile, acceptance is something Gwyneth has been learning more and more about since becoming a mother.
Yeah, I remember having kids and feeling like, how do I reconcile, because I was in my early 30s when I had my kids, and I had, you're just coming out of your 20s when you're in that like sexy young girl phase, and then you're like, well, how do I reconcile who I am now with that? And I think for me, it was really about giving myself time to be a mother and kind of letting my body dictate where I was going and trying to bring, again, like softness around that. And we have all these expectations, for example, some women feel when they have kids that they don't feel sexual because their body isn't back yet. And it's like, well, who told you your body had to look a certain way in order? So again, I think it's just about bringing like a wider spectrum of acceptance. And I think the point is, unfortunately, women, no matter what we look like, we're always looking at ourselves with a critical eye. And I just would love to get to a place where I don't do that anymore. And like, I want to show up for myself in a more loving way, because like, it's all going south from here, there's nothing we can do about it. So I would like to bring a consciousness of real acceptance and around that, because it's hard as you age and change. I'm not sure what the next frontier is. I do think that it's always about healing, and bringing information to people that can help in their own education about themselves. And so, I don't know, I'll be interested to see what comes next. I look back at all the things that I've tried and really more broadly, all the mistakes that I've made, and I really wouldn't change anything. I've learned so much from just venturing out and trying things and learning. And so even the mistakes are the things that I could decide to hold as something that I didn't like, I feel grateful for.